Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do something bolder. Last episode, we established the three philosophical axes of original level civilizations. Ancient Greece asked, what is being? Ancient India asked, what is consciousness? Ancient China asked, what is the fundamental process? 3 questions, 3 languages, all in the red zone. I don't just want to say, these 3 languages have a higher vowel dominance, that's a statistical description. What I want to ask is, in what specific geometric way does the energy of the vowels move? The vowel energy of each language has its own unique trajectory of motion. And that trajectory doesn't just live in sound. It lives in architecture. It lives in philosophy. It lives in every shape this civilization has made. This episode, we'll do exactly that, align sound with shape, and see whether they are 2 expressions of the same thing. Let's start with the simplest possible question. Have you ever wondered, why are Chinese roofs curved, while Western roofs are arched? Most people's answer is, climate, materials, structural necessity. These explanations aren't wrong, but they stop at the engineering level. I want to ask the deeper question, why did this civilization feel this curve was right? Aesthetic intuition is not random. It grows from somewhere much deeper. My hypothesis is, that deeper place is vocalization, the pattern of sound movement that a civilization runs through every single day. Let's enter ancient Chinese. I call its vowel energy, the continuous generative type, spiraling forward. The initial consonant is a gentle starting point, like a finger's quiet preparation before plucking the string. Then the vowel begins, not bursting out all at once, but rising like water welling from underground, growing fuller and fuller until it reaches its peak. And then the crucial moment, it doesn't stop at the peak, and it doesn't fall, it slides upward. When you say a Chinese syllable, the energy doesn't explode at a single point and then collapse. Even in the falling tone, there is an internal tension, like a bowstring drawn taut. The level tone and rising tone carry their energy upward at the tail, a gentle lift at the end of every syllable, like a note floating higher. The vowel energy of classical Chinese is continuous generative, spiral advancing. If you trace this movement, it is not a straight line, not a circle, it is a spiraling curve. Energy rotates as it advances, rises as it rotates, and at the very top, it lifts off with a gentle upward flick. Now look at the dugong, the bracket cluster. It is the core structural unit of ancient Chinese timber architecture, and one of the most complex, most exquisite inventions in the entire tradition. At the base sits the large block atop the column. From it, bracket arms reach outward and upward, each one extending, each one lifting. At each arm's end, another small block, from each block, another arm, layer upon layer, each tier reaching further out and higher up than the one before. Standing below, the structure fans outward and spirals upward. The force does not press down, it disperses layer by layer, spiraling the weight outward until it dissolves, lightly, into air. This is the same curve as the vowel energy of classical Chinese, each structure supporting the one before it, the whole moving upward along a single spiral. This is not metaphor. It is the same geometric intuition, the same imprint, left in 2 entirely different mediums. Then look at the flying eaves. In Chinese traditional architecture, the 4 corners of the roof curve upward. This is not merely decoration. The curve descends from the roof's ridge, runs down the slope, and at the corner, suddenly lifts upward, like a bird folding its wings, the wingtip rising at the last moment. The Book of Songs describes the roof of the Zhou Palace, like a bird spreading its wings, like a pheasant taking flight. 3,000 years ago, this was how people described what a roof should look like. That sense of should grew from somewhere inside the body of the language itself. That gliding lift at the end of every syllable, the upward curve appearing at the close of every phrase, was unconsciously, naturally, translated into the shape of architecture itself. Now look at the mortise and tenon. A force of continuous interlocking, no nails, no breaks, no interruption. Now, look at the dugong. The dugong is the core structural unit of ancient Chinese wooden architecture, and one of the most complex and exquisite inventions in the entire Chinese building system. It works like this: at the bottom is the large bracket block sitting on top of the column, two pieces of wood joined through pure geometry, no nails, no metal, nothing but precision. The mechanical principle is elegant, force is transmitted continuously through the entire structure, no hard break points, no single concentration of stress. When external force strikes, the whole structure yields slightly, then rebalances, like Tai Chi push hands, dissolving impact through continuous, flowing motion rather than rigid confrontation. This motion pattern, if you draw it out, is not a straight line, not a circle, not an arch. It is a spiral advancing curve. Energy rotates as it advances, rises as it rotates, and then lifts gently at the top. Continuous, unbroken, dispersing force through flow, finding balance within the spiral. This shared logic binds ancient Chinese architecture and ancient Chinese sound into one. Ancient Chinese architecture thus possesses extraordinary seismic resilience. The Yingzhan wooden pagoda, built in 1056, has survived countless earthquakes over nearly 1,000 years and still stands. Then the key thing happens: it doesn't stop at the peak, and it doesn't fall downward, it slides upward. Not rigid resistance, but continuous elastic absorption, the ultimate physical expression of the spiral advancing energy structure. Now we turn to two other great ancient languages, Sanskrit and Ancient Greek. Their vowel energy takes a completely different geometric form from Chinese. If ancient Chinese vowels trace a spiral advancing curve, then Sanskrit and ancient Greek vowels are explosive and centripetal, energy concentrated and released at a single focal point. Sanskrit vowels erupt from a deep inner core, outward, then upward. There is a powerful verticality, energy shoots along a single axis toward the sky, like a fountain of pure sound rising from within. Ancient Greek vowels are like a perfect arc, departing from one point, reaching a clear luminous apex, then descending with the same curvature, completing a geometrically flawless curve. One form, vertical eruption, converging skyward. The other, an arch, a dome gathering symmetrically from both ends toward the center. Two ancient languages, two fundamental geometries of sound. Look at the Indian stupa. The earliest Buddhist architectural form, a hemispherical dome below, and a tall shaft reaching toward the sky above. The lower hemisphere is a centripetal dome, all forces converging toward a single center. This is the perfect echo of the ancient Greek vowels arching, inward gathering energy. The shaft above points straight to heaven, vertical erupting energy, the same upward thrust that drives Sanskrit vowels shooting from their deepest inner core toward the infinite sky. Together, they form the complete geometric description of Sanskrit vowel energy: centripetal convergence below, vertical ascent above. Architecture is language. Language is cosmos. Look at the tower of Hindu temples, the shikhara. Its shape is not linear, not a smooth arch. Layer upon layer, each layer reaches farther out and higher up than the one below, finally converging to a single point at the very apex. If you map the acoustic energy of a Sanskrit stressed vowel, its contour bears a striking resemblance to the silhouette of the shikhara. Then look at the dome architecture of the West, from the Roman Pantheon to the Byzantine Hagia Sophia, to the Florence Cathedral, to St. Peter's Basilica. The structural logic of a dome: forces from all directions converge toward the center, then conduct downward through the drum and supporting piers. All forces ultimately converge at a single point, directed downward along one axis. It is centripetal, contracting, with a clear and definitive focal point. This lifting is not decoration. It has a structural function, but what I want to talk about is not structure, I want to talk about shape. Look at the Hindu temple tower, the shikhara. Its form is not linear, it is like an explosion frozen in stone. Rising from its base, it grows progressively narrower, denser, until it converges at a single point at the very top. If you were to map the acoustic energy of a Sanskrit strong vowel, its shape would closely mirror the silhouette of the shikhara. Now look at the lineage of Western dome architecture, from the Roman Pantheon, to the Byzantine Hagia Sophia, to the Florence Cathedral, and St. Peter's Basilica. The structural logic of the dome: forces gather from all directions toward the center, then flow downward through the drum and piers. All forces ultimately converge to a single point, or along one axis, concentrated downward, centripetal, convergent, with a clear and definitive focal center. At the apex of the Pantheon's dome stands a circular opening, the oculus, 8.9 meters in diameter. This opening is not ornament, it is the logical terminus of the dome's structure. All forces converge here, and through this opening, the building connects with the sky above. Place the cross-section of the Pantheon beside the acoustic energy map of a Greek strong vowel, you will see the same shape, converging from the periphery to center, forming a focal point at the apex. Yet if all three belong to the same red zone, why do their shapes differ so dramatically? This is a question worth exploring deeply. Classical Chinese, Sanskrit, and ancient Greek all occupy the red zone, all vowel dominant. Yet the geometric forms of their vowel energies are distinctly different. Vowel dominant only tells us that a language channels more energy into its vowels. How that energy actually moves depends on far finer acoustic properties. The specific movement of vowel energy is determined by these finer acoustic features. The tone system of classical Chinese, especially the four tones of Middle Chinese, created continuous variation of vowel energy along the time axis. Pitch is not fixed, it moves in curves. This naturally produces a geometry of continuous forward motion and spiraling ascent. Sanskrit possesses extremely precise long-short vowel opposition, powerful metrical rhythm, amplified by tantric tradition's intense focus on specific vowels, creating a vertical, explosively concentrated energy. That curve, from the central ridge of the roof, descending along the slope, suddenly rises at the corner, like a bird at the last moment of folding its wings, the wingtip lifting slightly upward. There is a line in the Book of Songs, describing the roof of the Zhou king's palace, like a bird spreading its wings, like a pheasant in flight. People 3,000 years ago used this line to describe what they felt a roof should look like. And that should grew precisely out of the body memory of language, that glide that naturally rises at the tail of a syllable, that upward curve that appears at the end of every sentence, unconsciously and naturally translated into the shape of the building. Traditional Chinese wooden architecture uses no nails. Two pieces of wood are joined through precise convex-concave interlocking. Mortise-and-tenon, continuously interlocking force, no nails, no breakpoints. In ancient Greek, the pitch accent creates a clear tonal apex at one syllable, then descends on both sides, naturally producing an arch-like, apex-centered geometric sensation. Both vowel dominant, yet their different tonal systems and rhythmic patterns carve entirely different geometric trajectories for vocal energy. The architectural forms of a civilization ultimately trace this very specific geometric path. Philosophy follows the very same curve. Architecture is visible, but philosophy exists only in the structure of reasoning. Yet the same geometric intuition leaves its unmistakable mark there too. The core concept of ancient Chinese philosophy, qi, is not static, not concentrated at a single point. Qi is flowing, diffuse, in continuous transformation between yin and yang. The Taiji diagram, the black and white fish pattern, does not depict two opposites, but a single continuously rotating curve. Yang within yin within yang, always flowing, never breaking. This is the same line as the structure of the dugong bracket, the same curve as the flying eaves, the spiraling flow of qi written into every contour of wooden architecture. Architecture is visible. But philosophy cannot be heard or seen, it exists only within the structure of reasoning. Yet the same geometric intuition leaves its mark in philosophy. What shape is qi, the central concept of ancient Chinese philosophy? It is not a static point, not a perfect geometric form. Qi is not static, not concentrated at a single point. It flows, diffuses, continuously transforms between yin and yang, advancing along an invisible spiral without end. The Taiji diagram does not depict two opposites, but a continuously rotating curve, yin within yang, yang within yin, always flowing, never a hard breakpoint. This is the same line as the dugong bracket system, the same curve as the flying eaves, the spiral of philosophy and the curve of architecture merge into one. Now look at ancient Indian philosophy. Vijnanavada holds, consciousness is layered, the 8 Vijnanas mutually sustaining, ultimately converging toward a core, or, in practice, dissolving into that very core. The mandala, the most important meditative diagram in Vajrayana Buddhism, is centripetal geometry, from the outer to the inner, layer by layer converging, finally pointing to the center. The stupa's dome and the shikhara's towering spire share the same convergent shape, the philosophy of centripetal geometry frozen in stone. Now look at ancient Greek philosophy. Plato's cave allegory, people sit with their backs to the entrance, seeing only shadows, not reality. True existence lies beyond the cave mouth, at the source of light. All phenomena are projections of some higher, more perfect archetype, the eidos. The work of philosophy is to climb along the direction of projection, toward that focal point. From diffuse phenomena, converging toward the single, perfect, geometrically precise form, the same geometric motion as the dome, the same centripetal convergence as ancient Greek vowel energy. Let me summarize this episode in one sentence: shape is civilization's signature. 3 languages, 3 philosophies, 3 architectures, China's spiral flow, India's centripetal convergence, Greece's arching peak, 3 distinct geometric signatures of civilization. From the very first word a civilization speaks, a geometric habit of energy movement is encoded within the body. These geometric habits don't stay in sound alone, they seep into every shape the civilization creates. Its architectural contours, the structure of its philosophy, the rhythm of its art, the movement of its thought, all carry these geometric imprints. The mechanical principle of this structure is, force is transmitted continuously, with no hard breakpoints and no single stress concentration point. When external force acts upon it, the whole structure undergoes slight elastic deformation and then rebalances, like Tai Chi push hands, which doesn't meet hardness with hardness, but dissolves external force in a continuous, flowing way. This structural thinking is completely consistent with the motion logic of classical Chinese vowel energy, continuous, unbroken, dispersing force through flow, finding balance through spiraling. Ancient Chinese architecture therefore has astonishing earthquake resistance. The Yingzhan wooden pagoda, built in 1056, has withstood countless earthquakes and still stands today. It doesn't rely on rigid resistance, but on continuous elastic absorption. This is the ultimate physical expression of spiral advancing energy structure. The vowel energy of Old Sanskrit and Ancient Greek, explosive type, centripetally converging. Now we turn to the other 2 languages. Old Sanskrit and Ancient Greek, their vowel energy has a different geometric shape. The layered consciousness of Yogacara philosophy converges inward toward a single luminous core, the philosophical schema that mirrors Sanskrit's vertical, explosive energy geometry. The arching, centripetal energy of ancient Greek settled into the perfect arc of domes and the measured geometric proportions of colonnades. Plato's epistemology, climbing from scattered phenomena toward the focal point of the forms, is the intellectual expression of this arching, centripetal energy structure. 3 axes, the spiral of classical Chinese, the vertical burst of Old Sanskrit, the centripetal arch of ancient Greek, 3 geometric signatures of 3 civilizations. Shape is civilization's signature. And that signature was first written inside the human mouth, written in sound. Written in the geometry of vocalization, running billions of times each day, never once noticed. In the next episode, we place these 3 axes side by side, directly comparing the differences and meeting points of these 3 ontologies. Where they meet, could something entirely new grow there? Subscribe. See you next episode.